Hey, what's going on, Agents for Life? Welcome to podcast number 214. So glad you're here. This is the last podcast of the year. We are winding down 2023. I hope yours was great. I loved a lot of things about the year, and there was frankly, quite a few things that I didn't love. And I hope you've spent the last few days in self-reflection, thinking about the year, thinking about what you want to do better in 2024, because in my mind, 2024 is going to be the absolute best year of my life yet. And I hope you're on board with me for that, because we're going places and I am glad you're here. So if you haven't done so yet, sit down, give your life some reflection. This week between Christmas and New Year's is a great time to do that, but make some decisions and implement some changes. And I'm going to talk about the value of time as just a closing thought for the year. And I really hope that I end on a good note here with this topic for you. But before I jump in, a couple of announcements. Number one, National Training Conference, March 7th. You're going to hear me talk about this probably every week until the conference because it's that important. If you haven't yet, go get your tickets. The link is going to be in the show notes. You got to be there. Whatever it takes to get yourself there. Trust me when I tell you, you need to be there. Every single person listening to this, if you are on the team, you need to be in Florida with us, Orlando, Florida, March 7th through the 9th. Okay, enough said about that. Excuse me. January, we're having our accountability calls on Fridays, right? Every Friday. This is a new thing. Every Friday, we have an accountability call. Well, guess what? I'm going to do a little promotion in January. I'm going to commit to something. And I hope that you guys take advantage of it because it could go really, really well. This is for lead credit. And I'm going to do it every week in January, see how it goes. If we like it, I might continue it. We might change things up. I might do some other things each month. I'm not sure. But for the month of January, here's how it works. You set your goal, okay, of how many appointments you want to schedule on your calendar per week. If you accomplish that goal, cut the number in half times 10, that's the lead credit that I will give you. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're going for 10 appointments per week, okay? And you tell me, Matthew, I'm going to do 10 appointments. That's my commitment. Whatever it takes. You show up, you did your 10 appointments. Okay? That's a $50 lead credit. Okay? Let's say you're going for 20. That's going to be a $100 lead credit. If you go for 30, 150. Now you got to accomplish your goal. Okay, that's the thing. The reward for having accomplished it is that you get the lead credit. So it's all based on the honor system. I trust you or you wouldn't be here. So let's all use integrity. But if you show up and you're a little short, well, let's do better next time. But if you accomplish your goal, you got the reward, and I'll issue you a lead credit for future leads. So that's my big announcement for January. And I'm excited to see how this goes. And I really hope that the incentive combined with the accountability really helps push you through to accomplish some new things this year. Because there's a lot of you listening, trying to get out of your jobs. There's a lot of you listening that want to get yourself in a better place. Just take your business to the next level. Some of you are leaving your jobs and you're coming in full time. Very cool stuff. But I really want to be there and support each and every one of you on your journey where you are. And I hope that helps. So let's end talking about one of the most important topics that I could possibly think of, and that is the value of time. If you go back through all my podcasts, you'll listen that I have actually broached this subject several times, but it's been a while, and it's good to revisit this. It's good for all of us. And a lot of these topics are not just for you, they're also for me, because these are all things that I also struggle with from time to time. So this is what I did on my research regarding time. There's only a couple of things that we spend or invest. Money is one of them, and time is the other. What else do we talk about in terms of spending or investing? Okay, time and money, probably the most considered, the most valuable assets that we have. Now, between the two, I think hands down, time is more important than money. And why is that? Because time is irreplaceable. Money you can replace, right? If you're spending money, and that's why it's not that big of a deal when we say, you know what, invest in leads, invest in your business, put money into things there's a shot that's going to pay out. That's what entrepreneurs do, because you can always go figure out how to make more money. You have all the way up till this point in your life. There's no reason why you wouldn't continue to figure out how to make more money. Time, however, you can never get back. Time is one of the things that kills entrepreneurs, not literally, figuratively, in their businesses, is time. Okay. Time management, doing things, the right things with your time. So let's talk about that. We all have 24 hours in a day. Elon Musk, right? Warren Buffett, I'm just throwing a few people off the top of my head. Some of the most successful people you can think of, they have 24 hours when they wake up. You, guess what, have 24 hours when you wake up. The difference is, how do you spend your time versus how does an uberly successful entrepreneur spend their time? Okay, probably very different. So the answer then lies in this question: what could I be doing better with my time? And maybe that's the question you need to be asking yourself. So 3 things that I wanted to cover. First of all, principle number 1, you cannot make time for anything. Okay. You can't make time. Now, a lot of people, we hear these excuses. Well, I don't have any time. I'm very busy, right? You talk to clients all the time that say this: I'm very busy. Well, guess what? We have just exactly as much time as we want to make time for. Okay. And I don't know if I even said that right, but hopefully you get the idea. You have exactly enough time to do exactly what you want to do. The question is, what do you want? And do you want it bad enough? That's why Napoleon Hill talks about the burning desire, right? In his book, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about a burning desire, because with a burning desire, you will automatically make time for all the things that are most important, because you value it so much that you don't want to waste a precious moment. That burning desire drives that. So very important, but I'm off topic. We're not talking about burning desire. We're talking about time. So let me ask you this question. If I were to ask you, how much of your time in your day is truly intentional? How much of your time is truly intentional? In other words, you decided beforehand exactly what you were going to do, and then you did exactly what you said you were going to do. Day after day after day, minute, hour, down to the minute. How much of your time is spent that way? Now that's a pretty loaded question, right? I mean, I don't know very many people that would say 100% or anything near 100%, but isn't that the goal? Isn't that the goal, to be able to pre-design our day and to have that much control over our lives that hour by hour, we are doing exactly what we said we were going to do before the day even started? Pretty amazing. Wouldn't it be cool if we could get there? Because then you're in 100% control. Down to, I'm going to take a nap, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to go to the grocery store, I'm going to take a shower during this time, I'm going to work out at this time. I'm not saying all business. I'm saying whatever you're doing with your time, you decided in advance that's what you were going to do. That's truly living intentionally. So the goal is to work towards that as much as possible. Now, granted, there's always going to be some interruptions. We have curveballs. We live in an imperfect world, but we also have to take those with a grain of salt, because is a curveball worth you losing track of your goal and your intentionality and what you're trying to accomplish in your business? Is that curveball that important that you're going to let it get you off track? Good question. And maybe the answer is yes. If someone comes knocking on my door and says, your child was just crossing the street and got hit by a car and he's lying in a pool of blood. I'm sorry to be so graphic, but if that happened, whatever I'm doing doesn't matter anymore. That all of a sudden just took priority over everything else, right? Are you with me? Okay. But most of our interruptions aren't that important, right? I mean, they're really not. But yet sometimes we like to allow them to be important just so we don't have to feel the guilt of doing what we don't really want to do because it's uncomfortable. So when you get a knock at the door and it's your neighbor just wanting to chat, how do you handle that? How do you manage that when you're trying to be intentional with your time? I don't really have an answer for that today, but you have, that's something that we have to work toward, taking control of what I can own myself, my time. So the best thing we can do, since we can't make time, there's no such thing as making time. You can clear out pockets of time that are wasted. Because every minute that goes by, you can never go back and reclaim that minute, right? Our lives are on a continuous spectrum, and you can never go back. As life insurance agents, we know this because everyone wants to go back 10 years and buy a policy that was a lot less expensive. Well, those don't exist anymore, and they never will, because 10 years ago is gone forever. Yesterday, the moment that you started this podcast, time works that way, and we all know this. But since you can't go back, the best you can do is be better with the 24 hours that you do have. So let me make this analogy. You ever poured a root beer float? Yeah. Put your ice cream in, pour the root beer. What happens? It goes all the way to the top. Looks like it's full, doesn't it? But if you wait a few minutes, what happens? The bubbles pop, the foam starts to settle, right? Goes back down. It's like half. Okay. If you looked at it at face value when you first poured the root beer float, you'd go, this is full. In fact, if I try and pour some more in, it's going to overflow. The foam's going to start spilling out. But guess what? It's foam, right? You drink the foam. What is it? It's like hardly any soda. Hardly any of it is substance. And a lot of times that's how we operate in our lives, is we spend so much little mini pockets of time doing unintentional things with our time, right? Little bubbles, making up little bubbles, and it creates this big foam that really doesn't have a lot of substance. It's just frothy, foamy stuff that just disintegrates. Okay. A lot of times that's how we spend our lives, because we don't know any better. So, pockets of time. If you have 20 minutes, what are you doing with it? Are you on social media? You're watching, a video? Or are you intentional? And sometimes that intentionality can be a break. Maybe you can intentionally program a social media break. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is about you deciding your time in advance for whatever it is that you decide. Okay. And then put it on your calendar and then live into that every day. Oh my gosh, you tried this for a day? It's tough. It's tough. And try to do it every day for a week. That's even, 10 times tougher. But I'm going to challenge you to try it out. It's a brand new year. This is a chance to reset. And a lot of you are not growing as fast as you can, not because you don't have enough time, although you might be saying that because the rest of the world says that. And it sounds good and it feels good, right? Don't we have our favorite excuses? We all do. But what is that going to get you? It's not going to get you anywhere. Maybe it'll help justify that to your friend, but is that really what you're trying to accomplish? Your friend's not going to be paying your bills. Your friend's not going to be helping you with retirement and financial freedom and all the things that you want. So why do we care about anybody else but us accomplishing our goals for our families, for our future, doing what and living our lives intentionally? So I'm getting way off track, but number 2, you don't ever get time back. I think I did touch on this. It's the one irreplaceable commodity. Older people, if you notice, are much more sensitive to time because mortality, right? They're a lot closer in their mortality, a lot further along. They realize the value of time so much more than a younger person is. In fact, sometimes that's why a younger person can be hard to write a policy on, because they think they're going to live forever. In their mind, they don't have any real big reason to get a policy. So the longer we live, the more we realize how important this is. So what my point is on all this is, if you can learn to realize this early on, you're going to be so much better off. Value every precious minute that you have. Because when you're 80 years old, you'll wish you could go back to when you were 40 and try it again and really value it. So if you're 40 now, be so glad that you're only 40 and you've still got the rest of the half of your life ahead of you. Okay, the last thing, and this is a really, really powerful, deep point. Someone or something will control every minute of your time unless you do. Any moment that you don't control, you're giving the control over to someone or something else. When I was working a job, the thing that bothered me a lot was that somebody else had control over my time. My boss told me when I came into work. My boss told me when I could go on vacation. My boss told me who I would be sitting next to. My boss told me when I had to show up. My boss told me when I could leave. I didn't have control. Now, that's a typical job setting, and I get that. We all have to, well, we don't all have to, but a lot of us go through that before we become entrepreneurs and we step out full time on our own. However, there are things that control your time if you let them. Aren't we consumers? We're all labeled as consumers. We consume, right? And sometimes the things are organizing because we've got so much stuff in our lives that we have to go through our closets and organize, and that takes time. Or sometimes we're throwing stuff out, or sometimes we're cleaning. And so it's not just people, but our time will get controlled by something or someone else, unless that person or thing is ourselves, which goes back to my original point of intentionality. How intentional are you with your time? I think you will be shocked if you free up all these little time pockets that you have in your day, use them efficiently, and apply them toward your business and your goals and exactly what you're trying to do in 2024. And if you can get hyper focused and you can get that burning desire such that you don't really even care much anymore about things like movies or what other distractions, social media, or any type of other distraction that would just slow you down. You'll start seeing those as barriers, obstacles, something that's going to hold me back. Because that's 2 hours. A movie's a 2-hour commitment. Let's say you watch 3 movies a week. 6 hours. What could you have done in 6 hours? Now, am I saying all business, no play? No, of course not. Please don't misinterpret. What I'm saying is get intentional. Look at your calendar as the most valuable thing that you have, because that's a reporting, that's an accountability of your time. Fill up the white space. Fill up your intentionality on how you want your ideal day to go. How do you want that time that's given to you by God every single day, those precious 24 hours, how do you want them spent? How do you want them invested? At the end of the day, when you lay your head to rest on a pillow, how do you want to think back on what happened in that day? How much time was lost? And how much can we get better at being more efficient with the small pockets of time we do have? Eliminate the excuse that I don't have enough time. Okay. I work a job, so I can't run appointments or whatever. No, baloney. You have time. I'm going to guarantee that you're just not using as efficiently as you could. And when you do, and you understand this, and I'm speaking to all of us, myself included, okay, we can all get better at time management. When we do, I think we'll be blown away at how much extra time was being spent and given to other people, other things that don't even matter, and redirecting them to ourselves. I think, guys, we can make 2024 a pivotal year unlike any you've ever experienced in your life. And I'm excited to do it with you.